Hello, welcome back to the Boardgames 4K YouTube channel, and this is a channel where we bring you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, and we generally talk a lot of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. So in this video we're going to be talking about a game by Riener Knizia. It's a race stroke deck building game. It's the Race to Eldorado, otherwise known as the Quest for Eldorado. And in this game you have a deck of cards. You'll be adding cards to your deck to improve your chances of being the first to traverse the terrain to reach Eldorado in the shortest amount of time. So in this video we'll be telling you what we do like, what we don't like, and then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not the Race to Eldorado is worth playing today and in the future. So if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to our channel. Leave a comment in that section down below, and we'll see you after this.
Boardgames 4K.
So the Race to Eldorado, we're going to give you a very rough rules overview. So how do you play this game? The gameplay of this one, it takes place over 3 strict phases. So the first phase is you're going to be playing cards from your hand into your discard pile that will allow you to move your explorer through the terrain or buy cards from the market offer. So everyone starts with the same basic cards. You've got cards with a machete icon which allow you to move a certain number of spaces through jungle terrain. You've got cards with paddles on, allow you to move over water, and you've got coins that can be used to move over villages that need coins and you pay your way through that one, or you can use them to buy cards from the available cards in the market offer. And also you can always use 2 cards as 1 coin. You'll be taking, say, a machete card from your hand, and each one of these cards has got a value, and you'll be playing it in front of you and you'll be moving that number of spaces. But there's a couple of little rules for this one that you have to remember. The first rule you have to remember is you have to play the minimum value card to move through that space. So a value 3 hex will need a minimum of a value 3 card, but a value 3 card will allow you to move through up to 3 1 value hexes, right? So there's also, so we've already talked about, you've got jungle spaces, you've got village spaces, and you've got water spaces. There's also a few special spaces on the board. So you've got the greyed out ones with a number of cards, and that means that you, to get to move on to that hex, you have to discard onto your discard pile that many number of cards, and they could be of any value of any type, right? There's also these red spaces with a cross on, so when you hit one of those you have to discard a card out of the game for good. So in a way it's a good way of getting rid of the dead wood out your hand real quick, right? So mountain spaces can never ever be moved into. So as you move through across the board, you'll come to these obstacles, and these are these tiny little sort of like snake-like tiles, and when you move on them, the leader, the person who's the first to move over them, will take them, will have to play the card that's associated with that obstacle, and take them in front of them. And these obstacles are used to break ties at the end of the game, because in this game everybody has the same amount of turns, right? So the second thing that you can do in the first phase is you can buy cards. You'll be looking at the types of treasure or money cards that you've got, and you'll be able to buy any of the cards that are present in the current market offer. And if there's a space in the market, you can look at all the other cards from the unavailable cards, and you can buy one of them and put the remaining cards in the vacant space. So that's a way of transferring cards from the unavailable to the available market offers, right? And like we said, you can always use 2 of any card as 1 coin. So after you've done that, after you've moved or you've bought cards, then you will be able to discard any number of cards from your hand into your discard pile, and then you'll draw back up to 4 cards in your hand. And there are other cards that allow you to increase your hand size, or they will allow you to draw more cards into your hand. Once your draw deck is exhausted, you'll draw as much as you can, and then you will reshuffle your discard pile to make a new draw deck. So in addition to the bog standard menial cards like machetes or water cards or whatever, there are available a certain number of special cards that give you these absolutely astonishing abilities, and these are the pink cards that are available. So there's certain ones, like you could play the telephone, for instance, that lets you take an expedition card without having to pay for it, right? You've got the cartographer that allows you to draw an extra 2 cards from your draw pile into your hand, right? So there are ways, as these pink cards do allow you to sort of trim down your deck. So you've got the scientist. He allows you to draw a card from your draw deck and then discard a card from your hand permanently from the game. So it's a good way of making your deck more efficient, right, and removing the chaff from your deck in favour of some decent cards. Because if you've got too many low value cards in your hand, it's going to be very difficult to progress real quick, because you'll constantly be drawing these really low power cards waiting for these small cards to come out. So yeah, in addition to these pink cards, there's also these special bonus tiles that you can get if you land adjacent to a cave space. And what you'll do, you'll move adjacent to the cave and you'll take the top tile from the bunch of three, I think it's three tiles, and you'll look at it and you'll put it face down in front of you, and you can use these at any time on your turn. So some of these tiles, an example of some of these tiles are that, you know, you've got the generic ones that mimic the capabilities of cards, like it gives you some movement over jungle spaces or gives you movement over water spaces. You've got tiles that give you the same function as the native, which allow you to move into any adjacent space without paying a cost. That's really super powerful, right? And there's also tiles there that allow you to discard cards from your hand permanently from the game. So once somebody reaches Eldorado, they are declared the winner. But if on the same turn somebody else enters Eldorado, it's the player that has the most obstacles is the winner. And if there's still a tie after all that, then it's the player who has in their possession the highest value obstacle card. And that is how you play the race to Eldorado. So what do we like about the race to Eldorado? So the first thing that we really enjoy about this game is it's a bit of everything. It's got that racing action, it's got that deck building, it's got that hand management, it's got the special cards and the special tiles, and it's like a bit of everything. You've got to keep your eye on what's directly in front of you on the board, but you've also got to plan ahead, because there's no hidden information on the board apart from the cave tiles, right? So you've got to look at what you've got coming up directly, and then you've got to look ahead. So as usually these maps, there's a modular board. You put these tiles down on the board, right, and then you can see that at the beginning of the map it's generally a lot more simple than what's coming at the end. So you've got to balance getting through the beginning of the portion of the game very efficiently, because there's a lot of ones and twos at the beginning of the game, and then as you progress through the terrain, then you get a lot of these 3 or 4 village treasure tiles, and there's a lot of choke points, because remember, you can't move through people, so there's that as well. So there's a lot of things to think about, a lot of simple but yet agonising choices that need to be made in this game. So following on from that, there's also the decision you've got to make about getting those extra cards into your hand and into your deck early, but then somehow trying to get rid of them at the end, towards the end. So do you flood your deck with all these low powerful cards, so you've got a constant stream of low power cards coming through, or do you save up and get these high power cards into your hand that are going to come up more frequently because you've got less cards in your hand? You haven't got as many cards in your hand to power you through. So it's a really good toss up between now and then. So the fact that you've got obstacles that not only break tiles, but they do make it it's an effective way of slowing down the leader. So you don't tend to get runaway leaders in this game very often, well, unless you're playing with me, because I've never lost this game. We played this 100 times and I've never ever lost this game. That's amazing. So the obstacles are a very sort of dual purpose mechanism. They slow down the leader and they also break ties at the end, and that's very clever. So the way this game allows you to sort of chain or combo these cards together, there's nothing more satisfying than plonking down these cards in quick succession, moving your player through the terrain and just watching people's jaw drop, going like, well, that's amazing. How did you manage to, so that's really satisfying. The fact that you can chain all these combos of cards together, and you've got these super powerful cards you can drop in there, like one-time use cards as well, that you can drop in there. You can astound other players with your racing prowess. So we love the rule where you need to be in possession of the minimum value card to move through specific hexes, but the flip side of that is that these high value cards allow you to move multiple spaces through the low value spaces, right? If that makes sense, yeah? So that's really good, because one of the mistakes a lot of players make when they first play this game is that they think that they can play 3 1 value cards to move through a 3 value space, and that you can't do that. So it forces you to take gambles and try and get these high value cards into your deck as quickly as possible. But on the flip side, you could always take the long route, which is less costly but more time consuming. So what don't we like about the race to Eldorado? So the first thing and the most frustrating thing about this that I haven't actually experienced, but judging by other people's reactions, is if you draw badly from the random nature of the draw deck, you could be left way behind and there's nothing you can do about it. There's a common, not fault, but it's a common theme in these sort of deck building games, that the fact that when you run out of cards, you have to shuffle your discard pile, and that may mean that the random order that comes out of that may leave you scratching in the dirt to make up ground for the player. And obviously you've got the obstacles that do attempt to slow the player down, but if you're constantly drawing crappy cards, then you're going to be at a disadvantage. And I know some people will say that it's up to you to try and mitigate that by trying to get cards out of your hand, but that's incredibly difficult to do, because a lot of the hexes that are on the board are in sort of not well placed for you to get to. So, and some of the pink cards that you can get, the special cards that you can get, are very expensive to do that. So yeah, there is that. There's that. So another thing is the setup of this game. It is a pain in the neck to set up, because you're looking at these tiles and you've got this. It's a modular setup. You're looking at the setup guide, and it tells you what tiles you need to do. And a lot of games that have modular setups suffer from this. Zombicide suffers from this as well, is that you're spending a lot of time hunting through all these tiles, looking at each side of them, going, is that the H? And the letters on them are so tiny that you need a magnifying glass to spot them. So you're constantly sort of looking through these tiles, going, is that the one? Is that the one that goes there? That's the one that goes there. And it bogs the setup of the game down somewhat. And on the flip side of that is that the teardown of this game is a massive headache. I mean, the thing is, everyone starts with the same deck of cards, and then you've got the start cards from the market, and then you've got all the other cards that need to be sorted. If you throw them all back in a box loose, then you're going to have to go through them and separate them out at the beginning of the next game. So you really are forced to sort of sort all that at the end. So the teardown is, so you need to sort out all the white cards, then all the yellow cards and so on. Then you need to sort out all the brown dot cards. You need to sort out all the different cards from the unavailable market. Then you need to sort out all the pink cards, and then you put them all back in. It drives me insane. But I don't think there's any way around it. Is it worth it? Probably, but it's still a massive pain at the bum. So to summarise, is the race to Eldorado, is it worth your time and effort today? So what we're going to say is this is one of our favourite racing games ever. It's an excellent racing game, and the fact that you've got the deck building element, it really does add a bit of spice and a bit of sparkle to what would otherwise be just a generic race against time, right? So it's got plenty of easy yet agonising choices, and you could sit there and ponder over this, you know, for hours on end. But at the end of the day, you're looking at your cards and you're thinking, that's the route I'm going to take. Bang, 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 bosh, 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 right? That's it. Yeah, excellent. So it's a well-balanced, a well-oiled machine of a game. The only issue I would say about balance is the fact that, and all deck builders suffer from this, is the fact when you're shuffling your discard pile, you will end up with a random order of cards. And there is a way to mitigate that, but it's a very costly and a very slow and cumbersome way to mitigate that by getting cards out of your deck. So that's probably the only real con that we can actually attribute to this game. So we're going to give it 5 stars. I mean, we love this game. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you haven't played the race to Eldorado for whatever reason, whether you think Riener Knizia is like an old fuddy-duddy or it just looks pants to you, we urge you to play this game because it's phenomenal. We love it. So it's one of the best racing games we've played to date. So that's the race to Eldorado. Like we said, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to our channel. Leave a comment about whatever you want down below, and we'll see you next time.